And after 47 games and 48 episodes of this podcast, we are finally here, the big final, the consistent, strong Indian juggernaut taking on the pedigree of the Australians. Welcome to the shiny side, where we look ahead to the big upcoming final. And just like the Indian batting lineup, we have all our big guns lined up for you. We have from Gurgaon, Vivek Ramabhadran. How are you doing,
Hi.
Vivek?
Very well. Thanks, Faris. Thanks again for having me.
And from Dubai, we have Omer Qazi.
Hi, Faris. Hi, everyone.
And from Houston, we have Omer Basir once again, who was a couple of Twitter users have pointed out looks a bit like Yuvraj Singh. But we'll come back to that later.
Hey guys, I can see how me and Umair are wearing the neutral colors, and Vivek's got his big bright shirt on.
Yeah, but guys, to get things up and running, so Vivek, we have to start with you. You're the one sitting in India right now. What's the sentiment?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, there's this intense fervor, feverish excitement. It's this calling. It's this moment of destiny. I mean, I don't think everybody just believes Rohit Sharma is going to be standing with the World Cup a day after night. And that's what we're going for.
Okay. Umar and Umair, how do you see this as a neutral? How do you see this final lined up? The two big guns you have to say of cricket. Umar, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, super excited. I can honestly sense that the sentiments Vivek's sharing, I can feel it. And I think it's powered by the just amazing display the Indian team has had, right? I mean, it's less of just, we think we believe we should win. It's more of we've seen our team and there is no weaknesses and they're just performing like champions. And then Australia, I mean, if there's any team that can break a winning streak, it's them. So yeah, very, very exciting. Looking forward to this game.
Umair?
Yeah, very exciting final in the offing. It's the two strongest teams in this World Cup. India has looked invincible. Australia, after the first two losses, have looked invincible. They've won some unthinkable games. And I think it's going to be a great game. And you're looking forward to the final.
Okay, so we do something different here. We're going to start with the quiz. And the quiz is, what do Travis Head, Labuschagne, and Inglis have in common with the entire Indian squad other than Virat Kohli? Any guesses?
I mean, they're not
playing
for Bollywood start.
Are they all playing their first World Cup final?
They haven't won a World Cup yet. So almost everybody in the Australian side has won a World Cup or two. And in India's
they've
team,
not also played a final.
Sorry?
They've also never played a final. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they've never played a final either for that matter. So it's a super interesting thing, right? Because in terms of where the two teams are, and I think I would like to talk about the legacy here for a bit. So as dominant as India has been, a lot has changed since the last time India won the World Cup. At that point, they were beginning to dominate cricket on and off the field. And I feel like this is like the coming around and the final version of that, right? Because no matter as brilliant as Kohli and Rohit are, if they win this weekend, this will probably be the moment they will look down as the biggest moment of their career. It'll be almost their crowning moment at a stadium that's the world's largest stadium. And now the fact that it's in India, it's almost a symbol of India's new power in cricket on and off the field. And I feel like, like I said, for India, for Kohli and for Rohit, this could probably be their crowning moment. Kohli won a World Cup, sure, but this is going to be Kohli's World Cup, the one we'll call his World Cup. And if you look at Australia on the other side, 5 guys have won 2 World Cups, a T20 and an ODI. Another, I think 4 have won a T20 World Cup. And if they win, it'll be great for them, but I don't think it'll be career-defining for them or legacy-defining for them. In fact, like Vivek was saying, I feel like by the time the game ends, half Australia will probably be asleep at that time, right? So the context is a little bit different. Vivek, how do you see that?
No, absolutely. I think, first of all, there's this whole air of expectation. I should point out one thing as well, right? So this is not, and I mentioned earlier, it's not like, oh, let's hope, like a couple of these guys score 100 and, at least we'll put up a good show. I mean, the idea is, no, we're going to win this. But I'll tell you one more thing. I mean, even if for whatever reason, India don't win the match, and it can happen, right? I think and that's the good part of where the country has matured. I think they will still be extremely celebrated and they will still be very much, the pride is still very much there. We will just feel a sense of loss that, it would have been, fantastic and a great story and for all that. But otherwise, it's not going to change anything. And I think that's also where the country and the cricket following has matured over the past 20-30 years.
Which is fantastic to hear. And Omer, what's your take on the whole legacy thing for both teams.
Yeah, if Australia wins, we'll be like, Australia, hai, haan, to of course jeetenge. We'll just forget about it in a few days, and that's just and that's amazing for them as a country and as a team. That's what they've delivered. So we've just got so used to it.
Yeah.
But for India, yeah, I mean, man, it's going to be a memorable win. I think a lot of things just clicked into play. I mean, I'm just excited by Rohit's captaincy, the role he's played, specifically. And then, of course, Virat, what a story.
Yeah.
So absolutely agree, right? I mean, very different feelings in both camps.
And Umair, India. So if you look at the overall head-to-head in World Cups, Australia has won 8, India has won 5. It's 2-1 in knockouts, but the last win India had was in Ahmedabad in a quarterfinal against Australia in 2011, right? So that's actually where they'll be playing again. In terms of the tournament context, Umair, so obviously I think India's coming off 10 straight wins now, but even Australia's coming off 8. So 10-8, I mean, it's almost more the same thing. How do you see that? How do you see them coming together, and how do you see the clash, Umair?
Look, both for the in the context of the game, both are coming undefeated, right? If you take out Australia's first 2 games to South Africa and India,
which were like over a month ago,
wins. It's like you generally look at the last 5 games that they've played, they're both undefeated, and so strong teams both going up against each other, and it'll be exciting. It'll be interesting to watch, and I don't know what the head-to-head is in India. I'm sure India has the advantage there, whether it's World Cup or non-World Cup. But yeah, I hope it's a good game, a close one. And Australia is just there to spoil people's party. I mean, every World Cup, it's never really Australia's story, right? 2015 was all about McCullum and New Zealand, and Australia spoiled their party. And then the T20 World Cup that they won, the story was Pakistan had won 5 games in the group stages. England was outcoming, playing this new brand of cricket which no one else was playing. They spoiled the party again, and they may spoil the party this time. But hearing Vivek and that India is maturing as a nation, I think it's a great achievement.
Yeah.
Being unbeaten till now in this World Cup is a great achievement already. And
Vivek, FYI, when Australia beat Pakistan in that semi-final, Omer and I were sitting about 20 seats apart from each other in Dubai. We were all there. Omer flew down from Houston for that. But moving on to tomorrow's game, and just looking at how India is shaping up for the game, right? So we spoke about, I'm not going to get into the averages again. We all know how good India has been, but I feel like Rohit's wicket is incredibly key, and how fast you get it's almost like the impact Sehwag would have back in the day, even though I obviously rate Rohit much higher because of the way he's playing and the way he's taking the game on. If you get Rohit on the first ball, even if India go on to put up a decent score, they won't be able to reproduce the same strike rate in the power play. So Kohli, you get out in the over 1, over 10, it's equally valuable. But Rohit, the earlier the better. Vivek, how do you see his impact?
Absolutely. I think if there were any doubts on how they would deal with it in the knockout game, the fact that on the 3rd ball, he came out and he came down the wicket and hit Trent Bolt over extra cover. I mean, I think that was just a message to the dressing room.
Yeah.
And so clearly Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, they're extremely capable bowling attack. And, if they get the ball to move, it's going to be hard, right? So, but the fact is that Rohit's going to go for it. So you never know. It's going to be those little margins, those things which happen, which nobody talks about at the end of the match. Yeah. One inside edge, which will go somewhere here, one thickish edge, which will go to 3rd man. Whoever gets that run of luck in the beginning, I mean, it could go either way, and that's
it's one of those things, Vivek, where you always talk about the little moments at the end. No one really remembers what happened 20, 30 overs ago always. But Omer, we spoke about this on the preview. I think you weren't part of that show. But Kohli and Rohit together are accounting for 40 to 60% of India's runs in every game. And do you know that the average score when both of them get out for India is 237? So generally speaking, they've generally been batting, which just shows how strong they are. Do you also feel like there's another way of looking at it where if teams can get them both out, forget about in the power play, if they can get them out under 150, 120, do you think is there an opportunity for Australia to kind of put some pressure?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think for Australia, it'll come down to getting India to play outside the template that they're so used to playing. Right. If you recall the group game, Australia versus India, they got quite a few wickets up early, but Virat was still standing, and that he played the anchor role. If Australia had more runs on the board, who knows what could have happened. But I think when it comes to batting and bowling, India has just played so clinical that they've never had to change their template. They've never been challenged outside their comfort zone. So I think from a batting perspective, though you get those 2 early, Shreyas Iyer, how many ODI international games does he have, right? All of a sudden, these guys who are just playing without any pressure are under serious pressure, and that's when I think you'll really be able to see how what the team looks like. Same thing on the bowling side, right? I mean, they haven't really been challenged as much. If Siraj, has a bad day like he's been having, recently, and if Shami doesn't have as the magic balls he's just always comes up with, what happens then? I think that's, for me, that's the small margins. Those small margins are, can Australia get them out of their comfort zone, and then let's see how they react.
Omer, two questions for you. First, that India's last 4 have played 6 innings among them. I think Siraj hasn't even batted yet. So do you think, I know it hasn't come to that. Do you think that is something, I mean, that's actually obviously a good thing, right? They haven't lost the wickets, but that's something I'm sure they'll be thinking of. And secondly, what Umar mentioned, right, where he said India's bowling. India hasn't actually bowled in the day in about a month now, because the last 4 games, I think, they've actually been batting first. So do you think, Umar, that's a factor here?
For sure. Look, India's been batting first lately in the last 5 group games, the semi-final as well. So the bowling will be tested. If they bowl first, they will definitely be tested. They will not find the kind of swing that they find under lights. That will not happen. But Australia on the flip side is just their openers, right? The middle order doesn't really fire. So I don't know how much under pressure they can get the Indian bowling. But if Warner and Head get going, then India will find his bowling immensely under pressure. As far as the batting is concerned, I think the most wickets they lost was against New Zealand, where they lost, I think, 6 wickets. But look, the tail will not contribute much, irrespective. It's not like they can make a difference with the runs. It's your top 7 for India who have to score. And I think Shreyas, KL Rahul, Sky are still very capable, even if India loses. And India did lose 3 early wickets against Australia when they were chasing that 200 total, right? And then Kohli and Rahul played really well. So, I think India's batting is really strong. Even if you get Kohli and Rohit and Kohli early, there's still enough batting.
You need to keep going. You're not done.
Exactly.
I mean, Vivek, I think we have to talk about Travis Head. In the early on, we were all talking about why Australia is carrying 2-3 unfit players, right? And he was scored throughout. But we've really seen what his value is. In 3 games already, he's won 2 matches for them off his own bat, and in fact, the ball as well yesterday. How do you see Travis Head and their top order, Vivek? Because I guess, what we say about Rohit, the intent he plays with, Australia has 3 guys at the top who all have the same intent. They're not as good as Rohit, but they definitely have the same intent. So how do you see that, Vivek?
I think you take it one by one, right? David Warner's the key, right? Because he's very aggressive. He takes the game away. He plays more in India than even in Australia now, right? So he's practically on home ground, right? And so he's a huge one. I mean, and they know that, and they'll know him very well. And, that's one. And then I think with Travis Head and Mitch Marsh, honestly, if it's their day, it's their day, like how it was against, I think it was Pakistan and even yesterday in South Africa. But you'll get chances, and then it's going to be about, can we hold on to them? There might be who's going to take that, that diving catch at point or slip, that kind of stuff. And if India hold their nerve, I think they will go after Siraj. I think that's the weakest link, and that's been a bit vulnerable in the last New Zealand match as well. They would have seen that. So I'm sure there's some plan there, and they'll figure that out. But like Omer said, I mean, I think the key is that their middle order is weak, right? And it is weak against spin. So if Kuldeep gets a go at all these guys, I mean, we saw how even with Maharaj and Shams struggled. So that's what India will be looking for.
So, Umar, building on to what these guys are saying, right? So I said the top 3 are a bit like Rohit, but not as good. I think you can say the same thing for Smith. He's probably in the Kohli mold, but not as good at all, right? Because Smith is striking at like a 78 rather than 100 right now. So, I mean, he's really struggling, and Labuschagne probably is in the same boat. So do you feel like, Umar, that's the weak link for Australia somewhat in the batting?
I think the weak link starts there. I think the people to follow aren't, you've got a freak in Maxwell, but other than that, who's the guy who, if you lose 2 or 3 wickets early, Labuschagne and Steve Smith, you expect them to steady the ship, but they really haven't been very, doing it very consistently or playing those long innings. One of the scenarios in my head was, even dropping Steven Smith for somebody like a Stoinis, who is a match winner, right? And Labuschagne, I think, has had a better World Cup than Steven Smith. But absolutely agree. I think it's something, it's either the guy needs to stand up, and Steven Smith is a legend, right? Let's say that.
Yeah.
So maybe this is his moment, but it's not. It hasn't looked that way this World Cup.
Yeah. And Omer, we have to talk about Australia spinners, right? So Maxwell was taken down by South Africa, but he's been taken down by them in the last few games they've played. Yeah. But he's also the leading wicket taker. So against India, do you see I don't want Zampa or Maxwell. Do you see Zampa as a weak point, or do you see him as the trump card? And if you look at Maxwell on the other side, he hasn't taken a lot of wickets, but he's been providing really good control. But I feel like if there's one side that can take on Maxwell and take him out of the attack, it's probably India. So Omer, how do you see the Australian spinners playing out tomorrow?
For sure. Look, no spin attack is a trump card against India. They will not let either settle, Zampa or Maxwell. They will go for runs. They will not pick up wickets. I don't see it happening, leg spinners especially. Although Zampa does have a decent record against the likes of Kohli and Sharma, if you look at the stats. He does have a decent record, but hard to see that happen. I think the key people who made trouble in Indian batsmen are the Aussie pacers, not the spinners.
Yeah. So Vivek, if you look at where the game is happening, right, Ahmedabad, we've had 4 games there. The highest score is 286. And the team batting first has lost 3 of the games. There've been only, and we keep talking about how a ball does something under lights. There's been 4 games and only 5 power play wickets in those 4 games for the second innings. So clearly the ball hasn't done so much under lights there. Stark got 2 wickets against England, so he's clearly had a run there. But if you look at the games, it was England, New Zealand, and New Zealand chased down 280 very quickly. India, Pakistan, 190 all out, was chased down. England, Australia was the only game where Australia made 280 and defended it. But again, England was really struggling with confidence, I feel. And Afghanistan, South Africa, where even a team like South Africa, who struggled to chase, managed to chase just about. So do you feel like this venue is a bit different than what we've seen, Vivek, in terms of the conditions and so on?
I think you can't read too much into it. And it's one of the things I've observed also, in our discussions, and then what happens in the match, because you're comparing different teams, right? And different circumstances.
And the sample size is not that big, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really not. And I mean, I think the relevant thing is when India played last, it was the Pakistan game. It was clearly a good batting track, and India kept it tight and, triggered that middle order collapse. And that's what happened. And then from there, it was easy going. It's going to be like that probably, which is more about being really tight and not letting the batsmen get on top. And maybe there'll be some turn later and for the spinners, and there's spinners on both sides. That's how it's going to be.
So what do you guys think will the likely 11s be, right? So I'm putting them up on the screen. Let's look at Australia first. So last time the team I have up here, they played Labuschagne, not Stoinis. Do any of you think they will make that change, or do you think they'll go with the same 11?
I think they'll go with the same 11, the semi-final lineup.
Same here. I think they trust Labuschagne with the spinners a little bit more than Stoinis, I would think. So that's why they would go with him.
Omer?
Yeah, I think they would stick with the same 11. Like I said earlier, I would do a Stoinis for Steven Smith.
I feel like if you think about Australia executing their best game, I feel like it probably has a Stoinis rather than a Labuschagne. But I feel like they may go with the extra insurance of a Labuschagne in there. And should I even bother putting the Indian 11 up, or we know what they're going to go with, and there's no change coming up? I'm pretty sure there.
They haven't changed it all tournament, right?
Yeah.
Template.
I mean, after Pandya got injured.
When there was, right? So when India played Australia in the league game, if you remember, now it seems like generations ago, it was a different time. Hardik was in the team. Ashwin was playing. Shami didn't play.
Wow.
So this was that period. And, I was thinking, will they, especially if it's a turning wicket, will they, in Australia, middle order weak versus spin, Ashwin definitely would work. Yeah. Then you'd have to you won't take out Shami, so you take out Siraj. And then I just...
And then also, I just feel like, I think Vivek there, just having 20 overs of pace is probably not enough. When you had Hardik for that balance, it still worked. But
it's not, right? And then, and Steve Smith, he's one of those, right? Like, he can play spin well. And if he has one of his days and I mean, this World Cup notwithstanding, he does have a phenomenal record. I mean, so yeah, they can't. So I don't think they'll make any change. And
so I guess the next question, all three of you have to answer. Omar, you go first. If each team, if they win the toss, what do you see them doing? And I think, given that it's Ahmedabad, I feel like it's actually a bit more of a question than it has been in the last couple of games. So Omar, you go first.
I think everyone's going to bat first. It's a World Cup final. Runs on the board matter more than ever. I think both teams are fairly well balanced, so it's not like they need to cover a weakness, by bowling first. So I think both teams, I expect them to bat first, put a score on the board, put the other team under pressure, get a little bit of the benefit of bowling under lights.
Okay, Omer?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the ball doesn't swing here under lights. It actually skids on. That's why it's been easier to bat in the second innings. So I think this is a very chase-friendly ground. The stats will tell you that as well. The team batting second has won more games than the team batting first. But I don't know how anyone cannot bat first in a World Cup final. So I think it'll be a good toss to lose for either captain. I think that's, because both captains will probably choose to bat first.
Yeah. Vivek?
But I think we'll probably see a chasing winner.
Yeah, I think so. And that's the traditional view, runs on the board, big match. Though I think the way these guys think is different. I mean, they will assess the conditions. What if it's overcast in the morning? The temperature it's getting cold in India, right? Like in Delhi now, it's like 18 degrees. Ahmedabad would be about 22, 23 degrees. I don't know, like if there is if it's a little bit chill, and like what happened at Eden Gardens the other day.
Yeah.
That made all the difference. You don't know. And, when India won the World Cup final in 2011, they were the first team which won chasing. Otherwise, historically,
I think Sri Lanka also won chasing in
Sri
96.
Lanka in 96.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Sri Lanka.
They were the second team.
Even
Australia,
Australia, 99.
That's true. But we only made 120 in Pakistan.
Yes. So, no, I'm wrong. So there were 13, but I think it was the highest score. Sri Lanka
had the highest score,
70 or something,
Yeah.
which was a very high score to chase in the final in 2011.
You're right. But I think the only captain who has chosen to chase in a World Cup final was Arjuna Ranatunga in 96. I don't think any other captain has chosen. Everyone has chosen to bat first, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Omer, do you want to talk about the target scores and don't say 400? So what do you think each team will look to score when they bat first? Omer, you go first.
Okay, so if Australia bat first, they would need to post 330 plus. Anything below 330, I think India will chase it easily in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
I think India, if they bat first, they can probably defend 300.
Omar?
I honestly think 280, which you maybe said is the average score or something on this ground. I think that is the par score. Obviously, I think Australia would be aiming for, 320 plus would be. I think it would be in their favor.
And what about India, Omar?
India batting first. I mean, I think they'll be aiming for bat Australia out. I think 340 is what they'll be aiming for.
Vivek, what for both teams?
I think for both teams, if they bat first, they would be thinking of, I think, 300 as the base. And then, of course, if they had a good platform, they'll try to go for more. 300 will be a lot. Because remember, while, maybe the ball doesn't move so much under lights and all that, this is a much bigger ground than Wankhede and all that. So you won't have, even for a Rohit and all, when he, hits those front foot pulls and all that, be a bit careful because they'll have two people at square leg. You could get caught. So there won't be as many sixes as they were in the last, at least the Wankhede games and Bangalore games and all that. So I think that makes a difference as well.
Yeah, I think my take on this is I feel like this is a World Cup final. I think if you have 300 on the board, I would really back that either team.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would probably say 280, 285 is probably where it's a 50-50 game for either side, probably. That's how my interpretation. But I guess before we wrap up, we have to ask this question. What do you guys, look, clearly, had South Africa made it, I would have said it's a 80-20 in India's favor. It's probably still a 60-40 in India's favor. But what are the 2-3 things, guys, like Omar, you go first, what you think Australia need to do to have a shot at competing against India?
So we talked about it a little bit. Getting Rohit up front is critical to them winning, and then I think the icing on the cake would be to get Kohli. I think that needs to happen for Australia to have any chance of penetrating India's batting lineup. If they were batting first, goes without saying, you're not gonna put India under pressure by scoring 230, 240, 250.
Yeah.
You need to get to 280 plus. So again, I think they need to be a little bit cautious up front, or maybe put the right bowlers under pressure. Don't give your wickets to Bumrah up front, and yeah, I mean, don't aim for a 350, right? I think I like what Vivek said. Just aim for 300. You get there, great. But even 280 would be great.
Yeah. Omer?
Yeah, I think Kohli is key. Rohit Sharma may even give you his wicket after his 40, 50 runs. That's the way he plays. But Kohli is the key wicket. If they can get Kohli cheaply, they're in the game.
Vivek, what do you think Australia need to do to have a chance against India?
I mean, basics are obviously the first 10 overs, power play, what they can win from there with the 3 bowlers. And then I think Australia's fielding, maybe, it's an edge, I think, especially in crunch games. India has great fielders, but there are some weak links in the field, like Shami, Siraj, and these guys. It has shown. Australia, I don't think, have any weak link. Even their fast bowlers are amazing fielders. So I think they really own the field against South Africa on that. I think that's one they're going to play on. If the match goes close, if it's one of those 250 games where teams have lost 8 wickets and they're chasing, Australia have the edge because their tail actually bats. Stark and Cummins can properly, between them stitch together 40-50 runs. India can't do that after Jadeja. So they'll try to take the game deep, keep it tight, and put pressure with the field. And there'll be lots of stuff they'll say, obviously, and that's what Australia will try to do.
So
to add to that, Faris, Australia has had a couple of close games where they had to go down to the wire. So I think that experience would be really beneficial to them, where they've had those close wins, they've gotten over the edge. Then, but India, again, they've played so well, played to their template. The key would be get them out of their comfort zone.
So Cummins himself has been there winning 2 close games against Afghanistan and yesterday against South Africa, right? So someone like him, like Stark, they bat well, and B, they've have the experience. They've also again played out of IPL and so on. So I guess, guys, it's time to wrap up. But this is the big part, right? Predictions. So Vivek, you want to go first, since I know what the answer is?
Yeah, I mean, prediction is India will win by I don't know, maybe, but won't be so far 30-40 runs, I would imagine. And that's how I see it. I can't see it any other way, but you never know.
Omer?
I'd like to see Kiara Advani in the crowd. I'd like to see Katrina Kaif. I hope Vicky Kaushal brings Katrina Kaif. Ranbir Kapoor brings Alia Bhatt.
The game is in Ahmedabad, not Mumbai. I don't think you understand the dynamics.
Let
them
you
want to see them.
You want to see them be there also.
You want to see them sitting close to Vivek too, right?
Yeah.
By the way, guys, there is, I don't know if you know, so I just got a message. There's a huge spectacle planned. There is an air show prior to the match. Then there will be there's
Dua Lipa, I believe.
Dua Lipa, and then there are a couple of Bollywood bands. They're going to perform at the break. Then there's this annoying laser show which they're going to do in one of the drinks breaks. So they're going to Amit Shah and probably Modi is going to be there for some time. They're going to call stops. I think that's the only thing. India have to just
focus on.
It's so hard, right? I mean, I can't even imagine for a second. But they're good at it. They've done well so far. Tomorrow is the ultimate psychological test. So anyway,
prediction, I think India. I see they have their name on this one.
Umar?
60-40 India. I think, we've talked about it. A couple of those things happen. Catch gets dropped or catch gets taken, and Australia has a great chance.
So, I cannot ever predict South Africa beating Australia in a knockout just because I've seen too much cricket. So I'm going to go the other way. And I feel like I just think Australia have just too much pedigree. So I really hope it's a close game, but I just feel like Australia in those crunch moments will take it. So let's see how it plays out. But thank you guys for being on. This was a pleasure doing a show with so many of us. So thank you, Omar, for dialing in.
No, thanks for having me, and safe travels to Vivek.
Yes.
All the best.
Thank you, Umair.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations, Faris, on pulling this through over the last, 6 weeks, has it been? 6 or 7 weeks?
Yeah, so today is, by the way, this is the
Yeah.
49th episode, and the 50th post-match will be the 50th, and we've hit 10,000 views on the channel, by the way, just today, a few hours ago.
That's amazing. The
yeah.
shiny side has been shining all over.
Shiny side. So yeah, now I have to make sure it keeps shining after the World Cup also.
I got the shiny side right
There
here.
it is, the shiny side.
Amazing.
But
That's nice. But
Vivek,
Thank you, Faris.
safe travels. Hope you have a fantastic
you,
weekend
guys.
with the right result.
All the best, Vivek. Have a great time.
Those of
man.
you watching, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back after the final, previewing what will hopefully be one of the most memorable games you remember. Stay tuned to the shiny side.